All right. Good evening, everyone. We'll see how this goes. This is our second episode that I've done ever on Twitch. Where we're doing a bunch of HomeLab experiments on to kind of play with some of the advanced some of the advanced networking stuff that we don't normally get to play with. See how they work and try some hard things and try some challenging things here. So throughout the stream, if you have any questions, toss them in the comments. And by all means, if I get something wrong, let me know, because not all of us are perfect. I certainly as hell don't know everything. But today we are going to do a couple of things. Today, in the progress of our HomeLab, we're going to, on last episode, we created our first domain controller. We scripted an Active Directory domain. Today, I'm going to show you an actual script that you can actually reuse. We're going to basically create a script that will take a list of computers and add them to our virtual machine setup here. Add them to our virtual machine host. For a hypervisor that's running our virtual machines, we're of course using Microsoft Hyper-V. The scripting that we're using is actually very similar to the VMware PowerShell scripts that are out there. Maybe I will also rewrite this to use the VMware script also. One thing to keep in mind, though, is if you have both modules installed when you're if you have both the VMware and the Hyper-V modules, they share the same commandlet names, and so you want to make sure that the proper one is imported. Otherwise, you're going to have a bad time here. So when we created our first domain controller in our Active Directory forest, I noticed something interesting while I was kind of going through some things here. It automatically, this is the DNS manager here on our first and only domain controller so far. We got, it added my router, basically assigned some things, a bunch of IPv6 addresses, and marked them static. It assigned this, I think it assigned through DHCP, even though it's saying it's static. And this one down here, it assigned through Slack. I do want to get into some more like IPv6 concepts, because let's be honest, none of us use IPv6, and so it's great for that refresher for that one day somewhere in the future when we'll all have to use IPv6. So it'd be nice to, attempt that one more, it'd be nice to attempt your IPv6 that you might remember from your CCNA classes. So, which I found interesting. I didn't want to mess too much with my home router right before the stream. So I think I'm going to turn off. I can turn off. It's weird. AT&T gave me a /32, which is an insane number of IP addresses. Like an insane number of IP addresses. And in IPv6 land, that's like, I don't even want to do the math here. It's a very large number, more IP addresses than me and my dog could ever use. Anyways, I got a bunch of IP addresses from AT&T. I don't know if those are mine exclusively or like I'm sharing them with my neighbors, but I can I'll play with it a little bit when I'm not all that worried about turning off my internet connection. While I'm not all that worried about turning off my internet connection right before a stream and breaking my router and stuff, because that would be bad. But anyways, so that I found interesting. Also, so we're going to minimize our domain controller here. We're going to maximize our good friend here, Microsoft Visual Studio. I'm, of course, using like the standard. It's not the Microsoft one. It's developed by, what is it, Tools, Extensions and Updates here. It is the PowerShell tools for Visual Studio 2017. That's the PowerShell plugin that I'm using for Visual Studio. So, like I said, this script here, when I write PowerShell scripts, I like to keep them not necessarily user-friendly, but like, you know, advanced user-friendly. So so think about this. If you have like a group of developers, and, you know, a developer comes to you and says, hey, I need like 5 virtual machines so we can run some product testing on. You know, so you could say, well, okay, what do you need the virtual machines to have? And they could send it back to you in an email, or you can just provide a CSV file for them. And so that is what we're going to do here. We're going to do open up Excel here, which is also your friend in PowerShell, because you can import CSVs, you can export CSVs here. So I already created here ahead of time, and I added it even here to my PowerShell project here. So when I upload it to my when I upload it to GitHub, this CSV file will come up with it also here. And here we'll put up the GitHub information here. So that's Robbie Rigel. Oops, my Twitter is also up there. That's github.com/RobbieRigel/homestream. And you'll be able to find any script that I write throughout this entire series on there. So if you want to go ahead and feel free to use this, you know, I'm not copywriting this or anything like that. And like I said, a lot of these concepts here are pretty simple here. So we're going to start with the CSV file here, and you would hand the CSV file to like just to anyone who would say like, hey, I need to create some VMs here. So what do we need to include in this VM file? Or in the CSV file? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to pull up the Microsoft documentation for, pull up the Microsoft docs for, where are we here? We're going to pull up the Microsoft documentation here for the 2 commands that we're going to use here. So we're going to use new-vm here. That's what's going to create our virtual machine here. And as you'll see, we can maximize this temporarily here. Microsoft keeps pretty much the same format for all of their documentation, whether it's C# documentation or it's any of its programming documentation. It kind of keeps the same thing here. So this is the format for the command that it's using. If you scroll down here, they'll show you examples. And of course, the description of what this command does. It's creating it creates a new virtual machine here. So, you know, it gives you some basic examples here, and usually you can kind of figure out what's going on from the basic examples here. You know, pretty much the common parlance of it here. But also, if you go through the documentation here, you'll be able to see what kind of features that we might need, what kind of features that we might be able to use here in kind of configuring our script here. So there's 3 variants of this PowerShell script. So that would be 3. What's the term in actual programming? I forget what the term is off the top of my head, but anyways, people are being dicks to me who are watching the stream on Facebook Messenger, so I'm just gonna mute this here. Anyways, moving along. I just wanted to make sure there wasn't a major issue with the stream, like no audio. Anyways, moving along. There are 3. There's 3 variants of here based on the variables that we're using. We're going to use the 3rd one here. That basically the biggest difference between all of them is that we are going to have a predefined virtual hard drive path. So let's get actually started here. So on the top line of our CSV, we're going to name what we're doing here. So we're going to name the first one here VM name, and that is going to be the name of our virtual machine here. And then in your names, typically to keep it easy on scripting, I wouldn't put any spaces in between here, because it's going to import these it's going to import these directly as they are as properties of the object you import when you import the CSV here. So we're going to want the VM name. We're going to want its startup memory. Call it startup memory. Actually, we're going to go ahead and leave vSwitch blank here. Copying kind of down. This is what I'm following off of here. We're going to use the default VM path here, so we can skip that here. The version we're going to skip. Pre-release, I don't know. What does pre-release mean? So again, you can scroll down here if you don't know what any of the parameters mean here. You can scroll down and figure that out here. Like experimental, it doesn't give what it is, so we'd probably have to do further Googling. Name, new-vhd, pre-release. Again, Microsoft doesn't tell us what a pre-release virtual machine means. I wonder if that has to do with programming and debugging. That's weird. I've never seen that mentioned before. Anyways, oh, actually, look here. Is new-vhd required? VHD path is required. Yeah, not VM path. So we're going to skip the path where it says here path. This is where it's going to save the path of the virtual machine. We're going to go ahead and use the default. The version, we're going to use the default version. We're going to skip pre-release. Generation it needs, which actually we're not going to put in this here, because remember, this is going to be stuff that you're going to give to someone else and say, so you want some virtual machines here. This is the information I need to know here. So so the startup memory, we're going to assume that we're going to let you, the programmer, decide, I guess, on what switch to use, just to kind of keep this simple here, because I could see a programmer might want it on a particular VLAN or something like that, and that might alter what virtual switch you want it on, but we'll still leave that blank here. So the VHD information we'll skip again. We'll come back to that here later here. And then computer name here is actually the server that it will be on. So we're going to call this VM host here. And for our two domain controllers that we're going to add here, we're going to call it bworld-dco2 and bworld-dco3. Our startup memory is going to be 1 GB. 1 GB. Again, same thing for here. And the VM host here that it's going to be on, in this case, is going to be on Orion, which is the name of my virtual machine host. So now we're going over here to new-vhd. And we're going to keep the path the same here. And actually, we're going to call this OS VHD size. So for this, we're going to keep it to 20 gigabytes. Because again, we're going to do a core installation of Server 2016 here. And it's going to take up significantly less here. So actually, if we maximize this here, and if I go into File Explorer here, this is back on the domain controller that we deployed through PowerShell in the last episode here. Wow, I am really using 43 gigabytes free. So out of 60, so we only used 15 gigabytes here, and this is for a full install. Let's just see, well, let's see here. That also includes the databases. Well, the databases aren't going to be that big. Let's, you know what, let's put it at 25 gigabytes just to CYA here. So our OSVHD is going to be 25 GB. Block size bytes, physical sector size bytes here. Let's just get VHD, and we're switching over here to Orion here, and this is going to list bworld DC01. We're going to do a quick little PowerShell here command, VHD, connect combined, VM. Here, let's see if we can do this. Get VM bworld-dc-01. So what I'm going to do here is I'm trying to figure out the stats that we used on our hard drive, on our virtual hard drive that we created for the first domain controller here. So we're going to go get VM bworld, and can I get that? Can I pipe that into get VHD? No, I can't. C is not an existing virtual hard disk file here. So here, where did I do this here? We're going to go C:\ice. Our default location is SSD VHDs here. So, all right, so there's where I stored my VHDs here. So let's do get VHD. And if I do bworld.vhd here, it's going to pop up all the information here that I used for this virtual hard drive that I created here. So yeah, okay, all right. We used, for logical sector size, we used 48096. Physical sector size, we used 4096. Pretty standard things. Block size, these are the individual blocks. So when it creates a VHD, and the hypervisor writes to the VHD, it'll write in a particular block size, and we used 4 megs here, it looks like, for our physical block size. And that's the actual fragmentation on the physical hard drive that it's on. And in this case here, if you're curious as to why I chose the files here, my C drive is on an SSD. I also have PHYSIC. So if we do get physical disk, I have a RAID array here. It's a RAID 10 array here that I haven't even formatted. We're going to probably format this RAID array today here that we're just going to do for base data storage here. But for operating systems and like low priority, and I should say stuff that you want to have the speed of a solid state drive, I've got, of course, my Kingston solid state drive here. It's only a 250 gigabyte solid state drive. So, of course, you want to keep that to a minimum. But yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll format this RAID 10 array here probably later this episode here, because I want to put my data drives for these other 2 VHDs on here. But so we got that information that we need here. And actually we're going to hard program that in here. So, and then our data VHD size. Oops, look at this. I added a space here. Data VHD size, and we're going to keep that to, we can always expand this later. We're going to keep that to 5 gigabytes. So that's where we're going to store these 2 individual domain controllers. That's where we're going to store the VHDs that's where our sys file is going to get stored, and that's where our Active Directory database is going to get stored here in our Active Directory database here. So on this particular section of this script here, this is what you would hand to like a dev. So if you wanted like a test VM, like a dev, VM, VDT, 01. You only wanted it to have 5 gigabytes of RAM. And you could hand this to a dev, hand this to like if you had like another sysadmin, and you're the guy who's primarily in charge of creating virtual machines, or if you're on an MSP even, and you had like a local guy that you worked with at MSP. He's like, hey, I need some VHDs. Toss in this Excel spreadsheet and say, fill this out, and either that person could create them or you could create them, and so doing it using this CSV file gives you the ability to kind of create dynamic scripts that people not super that people don't have to be virtual machine experts or PowerShell experts to operate or run. And let me tell you, by no means am I a virtual machine, by no means am I a Hyper-V expert at all. I'm sure like most of us here, we create VMs and just let them run. You really don't have to utilize them all that often. I'm sure in larger environments you might be adding and adding and shutting down VMs more often, but rarely are we rarely are you creating new Active Directory domain controllers. You're definitely not doing that once a month. You're doing that like once ever. Maybe once every couple of years when you're upgrading to a new OS or something. Anyways, I digress here. So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to go ahead and save this. And then just to make sure that it's saved correctly here, we can open this up in, it is being used by another process. So that's a good sign here. So anyways, this is the script that we are going to start writing here to dynamically import our virtual machines. Adding here, I'll even change the subject here, adding dynamic VMs to a Hyper-V server. So that's what we're doing here. Again, if you have any comments, questions, suggestions, feel free to write to me in the chat. Don't be a stranger, especially if I'm doing something wrong, by all means. Especially if I'm doing something wrong, let me know. Anyways, where are we going here? Yeah, that's right. Okay, so I was breaking this up here, and I have this broken up here. So first of all, what we're going to do is we are going to import our CSV here. So there is the PowerShell command, import CSV, and the path here. And what we're going to do here is we're going to open up a parentheses here, and we're going to use the command join path here. And just as a CYA in just about any scripting that I do here, there is a variable here called script root, called PS script root here. And that is going, anytime you use the PowerShell variable PS script root, it is going to return the path that the script was executed in. And then child path is going to be list of VMs to create.csv. So that is our path. And actually, one thing I forgot to do here is create a variable here. So VMs to import, and we're going to make that equal to import CSV. So here, let me show you exactly what happens here. Let me just expand this guy up here. So this is the PowerShell interactive window here in Visual Studio here. So if we go into really doesn't like so if we go here, it really doesn't like what I have to do. There we go. Trying to get it to tab autocomplete. You can't tab autocomplete here. Okay, so we're going to do, there it is. So we do import, or here, we'll do this. We'll just call this import test. We don't want to use the same variable name we're using in the script, because if we run testing of the script here, it's not going to like it. So we're going to do import test here, and we're going to do import CSV. And then we'll just, hopefully it'll auto-complete a list of VMs to create. And then if we just do our import test, and we press enter here, so our VM name is bworld.dco1. Startup memory is 1 gigabit. It really didn't line that up very nice here. This looks a lot better in regular PowerShell. Oh, I didn't like that. So if I go Bob read, no, it's source. SOURCE repos. What is this here? HomeLab streaming. HomeLab stream. HomeLab stream. Active Directory. So here we can do import test is equal to import CSV, and then list of servers to create here. So if I do $import test, it's wow, it even did that kind of poorly there. Here, huh? Anyways, here, so again, this is everything that we imported here. So I can do import test, and it actually imported these as an array here. So thankfully, like every other, like 90%, 95% of every other programming language here, PowerShell arrays start at 0. So if I do import test 0, it'll only import the first one on there. And so if I do import test 0.vm name, wow, I did that. VM name .vm name. Why did it not like that? VM name .vm host IO size. Why did it? What did I really screw up there? VM name. Hold on, did I import CSV? Did I forget, like, to tell it that import CSV? Did I forget to tell it delimiter is, hold on, did I forget to tell it that I had regular headers or something, or that my first line contained headers? Did I forget? I don't think I've ever had to do that before. Hold on here. So if you're ever confused about why PowerShell is using something, you can do man for manual, just like the Linux command here, and then, or it's git help is what man is an alias for. And so we'll do online here, and just so I can, we'll drag this guy over here to figure out, you know, like an example. Did I forget to git process, delimiter, use culture, specify the current culture delimiter, import CSV jobs, CSV headers. It should have done the first row by default. Hold on, import CSV, creates a custom table. Why didn't it? It's always done that. Or am I only used to doing stuff. No, it's... All right. I mean, all that is... Why? No, it did import those as the headers because when I did it as... Because, yeah, when I did that as... No, it did import that as the headers. I wanted to clear this. It's now... So anyways. No, because when I did the headers for... That's the reason why list of VMs to create why is this not working? Hold on. So if I did import test.vm name, it's not returning anything. Well, import test vh host. Why or VM host is not returning anything? Why? It took that entire first line and thought this was one big header. What did I mess up here? What did I mess up? We did something obvious here. Oops, that's not what I wanted. We did something obviously incorrect here. What did we do? And I will never, and you know, when you make a mistake like this, especially on a stream, you will never forget this here. So, okay, so like format table, blah, blah, blah. We're just not importing a custom. No, you know what? No, hold on. This is. Hold on. No, this is coming back to me. I had this problem once before. Many times ago. Here. Get content. I had this problem once before. Now it's coming back to me. Do I need to... I think I need to... No, I know I did this like this once before because I had... Do I have like a stray character in here or something? Hold on. File, save as... Maybe we don't want to do, let's just do MS-DOS, CSV. Yes. Maybe that has something to do with it. Because oh, you know what? Here, I should probably close out of Excel just in case it's holding it open. All right, there we go. That looks a lot better here. All right, I saved it as a Unicode CSV file, and it must have not liked that here. Okay, so then if I do import test, delimit array 0, oh geez, dot VM name, boom, there we go here. Okay. I could have, there is an ability in the import CSV command to select your character encoding string right there. So if we go back to I'm sure it's under encoding here. So yeah, so I could have if I would have done encoding UTF-8, it's fine here. What is the default? That default value is none. So I guess that's Microsoft for you. Anyways, yeah. Okay, so we figured that out. So we're gonna go ahead and minimize this back to there we go. And if I do this here, everything's all nicely laid out like that there. All right, so we know that's working now. We know that part of our script is actually going to work now, as we intend it to. So all right. So in fact, even if I do this, so we go over here to our script here. What was the name of the script here? Add new VMs. Add new VMs -ps1 here. So I can do, not scope to this, where is it? Oh, execute a script. It's going to execute that real quick. It didn't spit back any errors. And if I can do VMs to import, boom, there's everything that we need. And even now, they probably added that to our tab complete. So that'll make things a little bit easier and a little bit faster. All right, so we did that. That's working now here. So we are so now next thing we need to do is we need to create some virtual hard drives. So we are going to use the command new-vhd. And these are going to be our OS hard drives. So our OS hard drives we're going to store on the actual physical IRL SSD that we have on our host server. So new-vhd here, and let's pop up the Microsoft documentation here to see what we need to do for new-vhd here. We're going to use the path. And for that here, we can do one of two things here. I'm thinking now, how do I want to do this here? We're going to do this literal path for now, simply because I really don't have the whole Active Directory thing set up. Typically, what I would do in this case, if I were in my production environment here, we would do OS VHD path root is equal to, and what I would do is so like in this case, I would do orion.ugn.bobbysworld.org slash $, and then I think I've got SSD VHDs is the name of my directory here. But because like this Active Directory is still in its infancy, I can't do it that way just yet here, and so we're going to hard encode this right now. Which again, if I use the fully qualified UNC path and you ran it on the local machine's going to resolve that, and it'll be fine. And I use like the fully qualified instead of the net BIOS, instead of just using like whack whack Orion. Again, just using the fully qualified domain name just gives you a little bit more, it gives you a little bit more check in case someone is running it on a different area of the domain, or they're running it on, something where like it might not necessarily know where the net BIOS is, or someone moved, wherever you were going to locate it to. But we're going to run this on the local. We're going to run this locally on Orion here. So we're going to go C:\\, and then let me just maximize Orion here. It's SSD VHDs here. C:\/ SSD VHDs. Did I plural that? No, I don't remember. SSD, yeah, VHDs. And actually, we're going to use join path here. Oops, we're going to use div join dash path. And so we're just going to do that, and then our child path. We're going to even do, to keep this dynamic, we're going to do even, so we're going to do, I forgot the most important part of this section here. So we can dynamically do any number of, so we can do one server, or excuse me, one virtual machine, or like up to 50, or 50 virtual machines. We want to make this as dynamic as possible here. So we're going to do this in a loop here. So we're going to do for each, open parentheses, VMs to create in actually I'm going to change this. It's not VMs to import. I'm not importing the VMs. VM list, we're just going to call this list of VMs to create there, so it matches our CSV file here. So for each VM to create in, $, list of VMs to create. We're going to open this up here. We're going to do a little tab here. So again, what this is going to do is, this is going to do for every item in this list here, do the following. And it would be just like, in C# or C++, or I would imagine even Java, although, it'd be the equivalent of doing like for I, for like int I equals 0 and, I++, until end of array. This is basically some shorthand for doing that here. So, So what we're going to do here is our child path is going to be the name of that plus the name of the VM plus the word actually we're going to create a new variable here now that I'm thinking about it here. OSVHD name is equal to we're just going to do some string math here. VMs to create dot VM name plus we're going to add the string underscore OS. So this is going to be, again, the hard drive that we put our OS on. And so child path is going to be the is going to be the OS VHD name. And we're going to go ahead and save that. We're going to close parenthesis that. And so so we want the path. And we're going to make this a dynamic disk, which means it will import, it will change in size as we need it. So if it's not going to automatically take up the 5 gigs on our physical hard drive. It will expand as it's needed. There's pros and cons to both. If you were really worried about fragmentation, like let's say you were doing a database, like a SQL database, maybe you'd want that, because then on the physical disk, it will carve out one solid chunk of the database, of the physical hard drive, instead of fragmenting it like it'll do. But again, this is a HomeLab. I don't care that much. More really concerned about saving disk space on my SSD here. So we're going to go ahead and keep it like that. So we're going to make it a dynamically expanding VHD. Where's that here? So what did we say we were doing here for block size in bytes? Let me just make sure I'm repeating what we did on Orion here. Yeah, okay, so block size in bytes is going to be, it is going to write to the we're going to tell it to write to the physical disk in 4 megabyte blocks. And again, the nice thing about PowerShell is it will recognize 4 MB as 4 megabytes. It'll translate that into, and then it'll do 4 KB, and then logical sector size in bytes. We'll just do our only 2 options are 4096 and 512. Our tab autocomplete will do that automatically for us. Since we're using modern software, modern hardware, we can use 4096, and then physical sector size in bytes, again, only choice is 496 and 512, again, because we're using modern machinery. We're going to stick it to 4096 here. Any other options that I want to select for this virtual hard drive? Where did the documentation go? So let's see here. Again, just so this could, in theory, be ran, this script could be ran on any computer in the domain. We're going to select computer name, which is our host in this case. So we're going to use the variable. Oh, you know what we forgot to tell it? We forgot to tell how the actual size of our hard drive. What size we actually wanted here. We're too busy doing some of the fancy stuff. What are we doing? Computer name here. So what did I call the host name here? VM host here. So we're going to go, what did I call the top variable? VMs to create, $ VMs to create, dot VM host. And then size in bytes is going to be VMs to create dot OS. What was it? OS VHD size. And that should do it here. We'll have to see during the debugging process here. Now, one thing that we're going to do here, I'm going to hold off on, you know what, no, we will script that. One thing that I want to do here, and we can get this going here, because this will probably take a long time to format. So maybe we'll do, and so hopefully it won't take too long to format, but this is 6.82 terabytes here. So I have get physical disk here, and we're going to create, so let's see here. So our new volume, what do we have to do here for new volume? New volume, that media type, number of columns, number of groups, physical disk redundancy. That's for creating a storage pool. Drive letter. Or do I need to do new partition first? Actually, what you can do here is you can do new volume examples. And I'll show you examples here. Storage pool. This is for creating a storage pool. It's an example of creating a storage. Both of these are examples of creating a storage pool. New, or maybe is it new partition that I need to do? New partition, disk number here. Yeah, this, okay, so this is what I want to do here. Yep. Okay, so we're going to do, let's see here. I need, it needs disk number here, right? Because we have to identify our disk numbers here. Get physical disk. This is going to spit out a lot of information here, but I want the disk number. Device ID. Get physical disk here. Class name Microsoft physical disk. Spindle ID. That's good to know. Device ID 0. That is our, what is this? Bus type SAS. Is this our DT? Okay, no. Kingston. This is only for slot 8, Lund 0. PCI, physical location. Oh, okay. So this is device ID 0. And then, are they both device ID 0? No, device ID 1. Okay. Hold on. Get disk. Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay, get disk and, okay, all right, that's what we wanted to do here. Okay, so get disk 0 is what we want for our RAID array here. All right, so new partition. Disk ID 0. Actually, here, let me just pull up the man file again here, so I'm not continually scrolling over here. So we want the disk number, the alignment, the drive letter. We don't need an MBR. Here, you know what? Let's see here. Like I said, sometimes the examples will give you much more information that you want here. New partition, disk number 0, use maximum size, assign drive letter. We want to do that. It'll automatically do that. And we want to, yeah, so actually that's all we need to do here. And then we'll format it here. So we're going to do new partition, disk ID 0, use maximum size, and assign drive letter. Watch this completely. No Microsoft print unique ID. Oh, that's the UUID. We want disk number. What? The disk has not been initialized. Do I need to initialize it? Is that an option? Assign drive letter. MBR type. Oh, look at that. There's a command called initialize disk. INITIALIZ, initialize disk. So we want to initialize disk partition style. We want to do a GPT because we don't need an MBR. So yeah. So we're going to do initialize disk. So we want number. This number in this case is 0, and we want the partition style to be GPT. And then if I do get partition, does it show up now? All right, okay, I think that only created a little reserved section here. Or did I forget to use virtual? No, let's see, here's auto limit. No, okay, all right. So, okay, so we initialized it with the GPT partition here. So we're gonna do new partition, disk number 0. Use maximum size, and then what do we want to do? Oh, assign drive letter. We wanted to assign a drive letter. And then I also want to set the alignment to 4096. You know what, or do we want to, let's see here, offset, disk ID, what is it here, GPT type, drive letter is active, is hidden, MBR type. Oh, I guess I could have done the GPR type there at the same time here. Alignment, it wants, I'm not 100% certain what that'll do, and it's not required. I don't know if that'll align it on a particular sector number, or if that'll tell me how many bytes I want the alignment to be. So we're just going to do that. And so now we have a new D drive. Oh, maybe we don't because it's not formatted. So let me do get partition disk ID 0. Oh, that's right. Disk number 0. There it is. And so format, is it get command? You see how I'm kind of doing all this from memory? Just to kind of get you guys to kind of understand, or to maybe not understand, but just kind of get familiar with how you find help in PowerShell. Because again, these are commands that I don't use all that often. Off the top, these are commands I don't use. How often are you formatting a hard drive? Well, I guess maybe if you deal with a lot of USB drives. Get command. So if I do get command format, format, it's going to show me everything here. Format volume. Get volume. Let me get volume here first here. Okay, so the D drive here, it's unknown. So then do I have to do new? Do I have to do new volume first? New volume. Does new volume want a partition, access path, allocation size, disk path? Let's just do here, man, format volume. So drive letter, allocation unit size, refis, is DAX. I don't even know what that is here. So here, okay, so we're going to go format volume. Our drive letter is D. Allocation unit size. You know what? Let's keep that since this is mostly going to be virtual disks. Actually, probably these will almost all be virtual disks here. And our virtual disk allocation size is going to be 4 megs. So let's use our allocation size here as 4 megabytes. So that'll create 4 megabyte clusters, right? Yeah, clusters, not sectors. Sectors are, yeah. So yeah, so okay, 4 megabyte clusters. Our file system, we're going to use Microsoft's new resilient file system. Disable heat gathering. What? You know, you really see some weird things on here. Allocation unit size. Use large FRS. I don't know what that means. Oh, and then we want to new file system label. We're just going to call this LSI. We're just going to call this RAID array. Just to further identify it as RAID array. Over here, we'll do ORION. We'll keep with my same numbering format here. RAID Orion RAID array 1. So it's going to do that, and it's going to kick up the specified cluster size is invalid. Storage WRI, format volume, category info not specify, age Microsoft volume, format volume, CIM exception. The specified cluster is invalid. The specified cluster size is invalid. Doesn't like for. Do I have to have a space in there? Oh, no. Hold on, I'm going to have to do the math here. So if we do, let's see here, 4 megabytes times 1090 or 1092, right? Oh God, geez. Why am I having a brain fart right now? Is it 1096 or 1092? 1092, because it's 4096. Is for. Why am I just completely having a brain fart right now? This is 1090. 1096 times 4. What's 4096 divided by 4? 1024. 1024. God, 1024. Okay. So 4 megabytes times 1024 kilobytes times 1024 bytes. So let's see here if it'll allow us to do 4194304. I'm just going to leave that off. It might be too big for 4 megs, but I don't think so. Like, isn't like the default? There we go. All right, so we have we are now formatting about a 7 terabyte RAID 10 array right now here. Oh, wow, that went a lot faster than I thought it did. Wow, so here, CD :/. Oh, it was all empty. Yeah, there we go. Full on. So here, we're going to do, we're just going to create a folder here called VHDs. This is where we're going to put our VHDs here. So I do git volume. Git volume. Drive letter D. Select all. Let's see if it'll tell us what sector size it used. Allocation unit size. So it used 4 kilobytes. Oh yeah. Okay. All right. Is that the most you can do? I thought you could use. Well, whatever. All right. I clearly don't know my hard drive formatting rules as much as I thought I did. Anyways, that embarrassment over. Back to scripting. All right, so we're pretty much going to duplicate this exact same script here, this exact same section of the script, but we're going to do it for our data drives here. So that just means we're going to change this to the new drive we just created here. And then we're going to change this variable here to the data VHD name. Data, and change this to data VHD name. Now it has me wondering if I can do block size in megabytes. No, that's how I created those other VMs before. Anyways, okay, all right. So we're doing that. So now that I think about it, though, we are going to need the root VM path here. So what I'm going to do here, we're going to need that. Actually, here's what I'm doing here. I'm going to remove that for each because we don't need that. That's an unnecessary for each here. So we don't need that. And I'm going to remove that, and we're going to put that one. We're going to put that closing bracket all the way down here. Because, yeah, we don't need to do that here. So hold on here. Will new-vhd, will that return the path? So if we go into our Microsoft documentation here, and it all the way down at the bottom, it gives you output. It outputs your VHD object. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create a variable here called OSVHD. And data VHD equals, and put an equal sign there. All right, so now it's time for us to actually use. So now we've got our virtual hard drives created here. We can do a couple of things now here. So, but let's create here new VM and switch over to our Microsoft documentation for the new VM. So we're using the third one here. So we're going to do new VM name, and then our name for it is going to be VMs to create .vm name. It's going to be the name of our VM. What is memory startup bytes is going to be VMs, oops, dollar sign VMs to create dot startup memory. So there's a section here called boot device, and specifies the device uses a boot device with a new virtual machine. Allowed values are CD, floppy, legacy, network adapter, and IDE, NVHD, when blah, 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 blah. I can't create, though. I can't, through the new VM command here, I can't create a new, we got to create a new DVD drive here. So to put our, because we got to put our OS ISO on something here. So there is a command here called add, is it add VM? Here, if we go here, if here, let's actually use our little PowerShell helper tool here. Where is Hyper-V? Hyper-V, 243 commandlets here. So is it add new? It's like, or is it new? It's new VHD virtual floppy drive. New snapshot, new VM. Oh wait, that's remove VM DVD drive. Is there an add VM DVD drive? I think we have to do that after the VM is created, though. Oh, add VM DVD drive. There we go. So if I double click on this, I click on details, it's going to give us here the whole little section here of how to use add. Yeah, so we need to have our VM already created here. So, but hey, this actually gives us a nice little, so okay, all right. So we'll hold off on that. Startup memory. What else do we need? Going back to how do I go back? Oh, back. Go back here to Hyper-V. Here we'll just use the new VM. We'll just pull up new VM on here. MNOP. New VM. name, memory startup, bytes, no VHD, path, pre-release, switch name. Oh, switch name here. So yeah, so we'll hard code. Here, let's see here. Get v. What is it? Get is it v switch? No. All right. Well, enough struggling through this here. Because this is switch get VM switch. I don't know why that wasn't completing here. Get VM switch here. So since that is our only switch here, we're going to create a variable here called VM switch, and we're just going to use get VM switch. And then so switch name VM switch dot name. There we go. Hey, create the VM first. Oh yeah, thank you. Hey, Mr. Magoo, welcome to the stream. Yeah, I'm trying to. Yeah, what we're doing here is we are scripting it. We're scripting it all to the same. I'm trying to create a dynamic script here that will kind of allow people to create VMs on the fly here. But yeah, so you can do something. So yeah, he's in the chat. He's referencing. He's referencing, you know, piping, you know, just outrightly piping the command in, such as like a get VM, you know, VM1, and then piping that into add VM DVD drive. All right. Well, thanks. Your comment. I don't know. Definitely thanks for the comment here. So we're gonna do switch name. And let's see here. What else do I? Let's see here. Going back to the Microsoft documentation, what else do we need to add here? Generation. We'll do generation 2. Select generation 2. It only allows us to select 2 generations. And then again, we'll have to add. So again, when this completes here. This should return a VM object when this returns here. Let's just double check the documentation here. If we scroll all the way down to the documentation here, it'll show us outputs, and it outputs a Microsoft Hyper-V PowerShell virtual machine. So we'll do $sign here, created, CREA, created VM. And that equals new virtual machine here, generation 2. So we'll do that. And then what we can do here is we're going to, so now, just like any other computer, we need a DVD drive and we need a network card. So we're going to do our add. So, or actually here's what we'll do here. If created VM, so if it's successful, start doing these things, because we don't want our script to start doing, you know, to start acting on its own. If the, you know, start doing all this stuff, the VM's not created here. So we're going to add, you can consider writing a function that will process all your steps. Yeah, are you talking about like following like the 10 steps per function rule in like most programming, or 10 lines? You know, if you write more than 10 lines, create a function. Yeah, I could do something like that. That will process all your steps. You can create, functions in PowerShell, like you can create just in any programming language. You can also create your own PowerShell objects, like you can in. You're actually technically creating a C# object, but that's baby steps here. So we go in here, if VM created. So we're going to want to add VM DVD drive, and we want to, how do I add, what's the code for, is that what path is? Here, I should, add DVD drive here. Is path the path of your ISO, or path you want the path VM name? We got that. It's going to get that. Oh, add drive VM, and that's going to be our created VM. And then let me just make sure path here is what computer name, confirm, control location, controller number, pass through, path, specifies the full path to the virtual hard disk file or physical hard disk volume file. Okay, all right. So yeah, so we want that to where our ISO is. And if we go back to our CD, C:\\, what does I have? Yeah, a folder called ISOs, and this is where my ISOs are here. That is going to be a pain in the butt to remember. Moving along. Our path is going to be C:\\, ISOs here, actually. Let me just go here. I'm just going to go into File Explorer here, do whack Orion, because my ISO folder is a my ISO folder I made shared, so I can copy ISOs to it. So I just copied the file name out of File Explorer. So I don't have to worry about typing that up here, because let's be honest, you could share the function via GitHub for those watching. Actually, all of these, this entire script I'm going to put on GitHub for people to use here. But yeah, maybe I'll refine this in a later stream and use the functions, because definitely you do kind of want to. You could kind of compile a lot of this stuff here into like a single function. So if you were just kind of, if you just wanted to create a virtual machine on the fly and just use, and with a lot of your stuff already preset, that's what you can do in certain situations with your own imported PowerShell functions here. So we got the ISO here that we did here. We also need to add a under here we'll use because there's going to be a lot of we don't want to add fiber channel. Oh, add VM network adapter here. We're going to want to do that. Oops, I'm alt-tabbing between too many things here. Add VM network adapter, switch name, and we actually already have our switch here. It's VM Our VM switch is already a variable up here under get VM switch. And I believe that's it. I believe that's all I need to keep track of here to create these VMs here. So to backtrack, if you're just joining the stream, we have a CSV file here. A list of VMs here to create, and using this information here from this CSV file here, we're going to here, I'll expand it everything here. We're going to create 2 new domain controllers here. And let's see here. We are hitting the hour-and-a-half mark. While I run this script here, if anyone has any questions about what the hell I've done here, if I've glossed over something, or if I've said something that ultimately confused you, or I've done something completely and totally wrong, which is always possible, let me know in chat. But yeah, so all these are going to be on GitHub. I still have my GitHub username right here in the middle of in the lower right hand corner of the screen here, and I'm gonna upload this at the end of the session here to GitHub. But anyways, here, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna save all of this here, and I'm going to close my CSV file here, and now we don't want to save here. All I did was expand the things here. Then we're going to open up my PowerShell here. So here it is. So, and I'm just going to do copy // hopefully it'll let me do this. Orion. Or no, what did I name the share? Orion ISO files. Oops. So if we do cd whack Orion ISO, come on, autocomplete. Orion. Oh, it's Orion ISO file. What? Come on, you're supposed to automatically put the quotes in there when I tab complete. Beautiful here. Okay, good. So I'll be able to do that. C:\users, Bob, source, repos, HomeLab, stream, HomeLab stream, Active Directory folder. Now it automatically created the whatchamacallits. Anyways, so we're going to copy installing ADS part 1 to destination whack, or we'll put this in quotes here, whack Orion / Orion ISO files, and then we're going to CP the list and destination. I could use variables to make this. Could have used variables to make this a lot faster. Orion ISO files. We'll move that here. And then now if I hop onto Orion, oh, that's the domain controller. If we hop onto Orion, and then we go into our ISO folder here. Now our moment of truth here to find out how well I created this here. We're going to do... oh, I copied over the wrong script here. RM. I copied the wrong script over. We need to copy over a list of... Nope. Oh, we want to copy over add new VMs. Add new VMs PS1. All right, back to Orion. There we go. Add new VMs. So the moment of truth here. Add new VMs /PS1. And it did not like any of that. It is supposed to translate. So it did what I feared was wrong. It did what I feared was wrong. No, don't open up Outlook. That's the last thing I want you to do here. See if anyone's. That is the last thing you want to. That is the last thing I want to do. When I put in these guys here, I put it's if I do this, or is it one? Well, here. You know what? Just to make it easy here. No, because I don't want to type out gigabytes and bytes. It's supposed to be. Hold on. I'm sure it's in our. I'm sure it's in our documentation. I'm sure they use it somewhere in the documentation here. New. Where's new-vhd? New VM. New VM, new merge VHD, new VHD here. I'm sure they used, is it a space, is it not a space? No, they used size in bytes. They used a single thing there, and they didn't put it in quotes or anything. So, well, maybe I'll just put this in quotes here, just to make PowerShell happy. Scroll down here, size in bytes here, 4 megabytes, because it is looking for let's see here. In the, what else did it not like? Invalid argument, new VHD here. So, what's, cannot bind parameter memory startup bytes, cannot convert 1 GB to system.in64. Error, input string was not in a correct format. You know what, just to get this working here. Really, this is we're at an hour and a half into the stream here, so we know 4 megabytes from previously here in this particular section here is 419.4304, and then in our let's see here. Oh God, what is 25 gigabytes? 25 times 1020. Okay, so let's see here. 25 gigabytes times 1024 4 megabytes times 1024 for kilobytes times 1024 for bytes, and copy. So we got that, and then what's 5 times 1024 times 1024 times 1024, and we will copy. Stop it. And then 1 gigabyte in bytes is 1 times 1024 times 1024 times 1024 We'll save that. Am I using those notations anywhere else? No. I'll have to look up what I did wrong there. Or if anyone, watching on YouTube or whatever, comment, let me know how I messed that up. But again, I know I've done that before. So, okay, we will save that. And then we will go back in here and copy the repaired one over and copy that fixed one back over and then pop back onto Orion and try this one more time. Failed to create the virtual hard disk. O2. Add virtual network adapter. Oh, we've forgot lots of things here. We forgot, what was that first thing about virtual? Cannot create an argument VM. Cannot create, the argument is either null or empty element contains a null value. Well, we don't want that at all. Is invalid. Oh, I have to do, I thought it would add the extension at the end of it. I thought it would automatically add the extension, but I guess not here. So two things that we forgot to do here. After we created our VM, I forgot to select the VM of our, in the switch here, or in the network adapter, when we added the network adapter, I forgot to do that. Tell it what VM to create the new switch on. And then when we created our dhdx, we created our virtual DX, when we created our virtual hard drives here, I forgot to add the file extension. I thought it would do that I thought it would do that automatically, but it didn't. I was wrong. So again, making live mistakes on the stream here. Oh, PowerShell is all sorts of fun. It's all sorts of fun. It's what all the cool system administrators use now. And welcome to the stream. I didn't catch your name. Otto Bobo. Is this a relation to a bonobo or something? Anyways, back here to our virtual machine, or back here to our VM host here. Let's see how badly we did this time. Looks like we're successfully creating the virtual machines. It did not like lots of things here. Git VM. It hasn't added the VMs. Oh wow. Okay, so we've doubly created some VMs here. So we're going to remove. Oh god, I bet we've double created the specified wild character parameter is not valid. VM switch or VM1 ID So here, let's cdc:/. I bet I have multiple ones here. No, those already exist. So I bet that's what some of the errors were that it kicked back, that those already existed here. Wow, I can't... arrow delete. I'll remove VM payroll DC02. Unable to find virtual machine here because I completely misspelled that. WORLD.DC-02. Remove. I was able to find a virtual machine with name bworld DC02. Oh, that's because I misspelled it in the. God, misspelled my own virtual machines here. Actually, I'm going to just edit the one here. WORLD, and that'll help us differentiate here. I don't think I need the V switch parameter here. That's what it didn't like before. I don't think I needed that V switch parameter. Let's see here. Add VM network adapter, wildcard patterns on VM switch here. Orion, Add ISO, add new VMs, PS2 character 3. It didn't like that. Failed to add device, so it didn't add attachment. ISOs in Windows Server not found. The system cannot find a specified path. So maybe that's not the ISO path that it wants, but I thought it was. I just started using PowerShell, and I really can't rely on Office 365 portal. Oh, no, you can't. Oh, the Office 365 portal, the Office 365 partner portal is awful. And there are certain things that you can only do in PowerShell, especially with Outlook 365, or not Outlook 365, Exchange 365. Oh yeah. That's crazy. But I mean, if you've ever done any kind of like C# or are used to working with object-oriented programming, it's really fast to catch on. And this stream has been a lesson on how to find help in PowerShell here, because again, like creating virtual machines, these aren't things that we do every day or anything like that. I want to get this done. I didn't want to stream for over an hour and a half, but I want to get this up and working here. And so what are some of the errors here that it didn't like here? So failed to add, oh yeah, so if we go in here, so the virtual, so we pull up here the Microsoft documentation here, and let's look up add VM DVD drive. Yeah, path is the path to the ISO. How could it not find that ISO? Or did I misspell the path wrong? Did I F up the path? It's just into C:\ISOs. What's my ISO folder here? It's C:\. Oh, it's ISO. That would be the problem there. So again, spelling errors. This is what happens when you become too reliant on autocomplete. So ISOs. It's just ISO. So there's our problem there. That's why we couldn't create those here. And I'm just going to get rid of the switch parameter here because I don't think that's necessary. And if it is, we might be able to add that later. I just want to get this to execute cleanly here. All right, one more time. I think, let's see here. Let's go back here. What else? Oops. And that's the, we're not logging into the domain controller tonight. I can tell you that much. We'll just close that out. What else was it complaining about here? So the virtual DVD drive, I think it was complaining that and VM network adapter and VM network, they cannot create argument on parameter VM name. The argument list is null or empty. And VM network adapter, or is that VM network adapter? Is that for V switches? Add VM network adapter. Hold on. Add. Oh, that's access control list. Add VM network adapter. VM name. Oh, did I do dash name as opposed to VM name? Or can I just add the VM name? Will it accept the VM as a parameter? I can, let's see here. Yeah, no, I can pass it a virtual machine. Okay, it looks like no, switch name is in parentheses. So VM network adapter. You can name the network adapter here. So here we might as well do that because just so we can identify where it came from here, which we will do again. So net adapter name. I knew I wanted to get this switched or this done with here. Net adapter name here. So again, you can do string math on this just like you can anything else. Let's see here. So net adapter name here. So we're going to use the variable VM name, which is under our VMs to create variable .vm name dot VM name, and then plus we will add the string dash Nick 01 because we're only adding one, and the name, we'll just need this net adapter name. All right, so let's again pop open PowerShell on my computer here, and we'll copy that over to Orion, and one more time. Oh, there we are. Add new VMPS1. Failed to create the virtual hard disk because it already exists, so that's fine. Failed to create the virtual hard disk. Oh, actually, so I think we're good. All it did was fail to create the virtual hard disks. Did I forget to hit save? I forgot to hit save on this guy. So it didn't fix the naming of that. But if I run this now, I shouldn't get any errors. So we're going to create hard disks. And I think we just had a clean running PowerShell script there. So now, oops, get VM. So now, okay, all right, I'll delete all these bad VMs here. So yeah, so we've got a, I will power these on at, well, actually here's what we can do. So we can do git VM, and we can do bworld-dc star. This is some of the reasoning behind my naming scheme here. Oops, and then we can take that and we can pipe that into start VM, and it's going to give me a warning because domain controller 1 was already started. So it's like, why are you trying to start this again? And then it started my other two domain controller, well, eventual domain controllers. We don't even have an operating system on here yet. So I do git VM. They all are already running here. So all right, on the next stream, Thursday night at 8:30, we'll talk fun stuff about turning these domain VMs that I just already created. We're going to turn them into domain controllers. And then we're going to, of course, then add them to the actual Active Directory. And then we're going to get into the fun world of Active Directory here. So this is the scheme that I have in mind here. This is a little bit sneak peek for next Thursday when I stream this here. So we're going to go, without diving too deep into FSMO roles here, which I'll save for next stream here, we're going to divide the domain control or the domain controller services amongst our 3 different domain controllers here that we just created here. So domain controller 1 is going to be our global catalog, and it's going to be our RAD master. Domain controller 2 is going to be our infrastructure master and our domain naming master here. And then domain controller 3 is going to be our PDC emulator, and then it's going to be our schema master also. And then, so these are the various functions here that each FSMO role does here. So like, for example, the RAD master sends out SID numbers to the rest of the domain as they need it. As other domain controllers will need them here. Domain controller 2 will make sure that all of our objects in our forest have unique naming here. And of course, a red arrow here signifies that it is a forest level role versus a domain level role. And then, of course, any kind of external objects that come into the domain. Like if I had another domain in the same forest, its external objects will be stored on the infrastructure master, along with acting as kind of like the local catalog server as opposed to the global catalog server. Because fun, kind of like the most fun, the most, like if I was a teacher given a test, like what 2 services can't you have on a domain controller? And of course, the answer to that is you cannot have the infrastructure master and the global catalog server on the same domain controller, because the infrastructure master will never operate because it has a global catalog server on it. That's like, your most common FSMO role test question probably. So anyways, your external objects will be kept track of by your domain controller 2 here. Password changes will go into domain controller 3. Domain controller 3, because it is the PDC emulator, will be the god of the network time. The official network time will propagate out to all the domain controllers, and the domain controllers will propagate out the network time to the rest of our network. And then, of course, it being the schema master will propagate any forest-wide schema changes. That will be in charge of domain controller 3. So if for some reason we created another domain in this forest, this guy is in charge of the schema of that forest, because there's only one schema master per forest, and there's also only one domain naming master per forest. Everything else, every other FSMO role is unique per domain. And then, of course, you can have as many global catalog servers as you want. Most places will keep a global catalog server per location here, which I'll show off in another episode here. But again, if anyone else is joining the stream here, if you have any questions about the script I just ran, again, the script going to be out on the GitHub page here. So you can go ahead and use that if you need be. Maybe like Mr. Margru suggested, we'll add these sort of things as functions here, because I kind of violated a rule of programming here a little bit in the case of expediency here. If you're using cut and paste while programming, you're doing something wrong. And so like this little section here, I kind of cut and pasted here and duplicated it. More or less, you can tell. And so we could have turned this into a function. And then we could have, this little section here, we could have created here into a function. And then if I pop open here, one last thing here. If I refresh Bobby's world, or excuse me, if I refresh Orion here, it shows all of our, actually I can easily now do a mass delete of all of those domain controls, of all those virtual machines I have. Here's all of our virtual machines that we already have running here. And if I pop open this guy here, no operating system was loaded. That's because I probably didn't set anything as the primary bootloader. It did look like it was trying to pixie boot amongst other things here. One thing I want to check though here before I sign off on the stream, so it doesn't look like anyone's in any questions, but while we'll wait for that to propagate through the internet here, we're going to do git VM network adapter VM BORLD BORLD-DC-02. Maybe we probably wanted that a little bit more. I think that's been. Anyways, VM bworld02. Sorry, I got distracted by my webcam. bworld02 cannot bind network parameter VM. Oh, VM name. So, okay, so in the creation of the network adapter, in the creation of the VM, it already created the network adapter. So we didn't need to do that part where we added a new network adapter. And then for some reason, again, when we identified Orion Virtual Switch 1 as the switch name, it didn't like that when we created the network adapter, but when we added this to our switch before, it did. So yeah, so actually here we can I can do that later. We don't have to play with that. Again, thanks for watching. If you're watching this on the YouTube, do the whole ring the bell, like and subscribe thing here. If you've been watching this on Twitch, again, join, like, subscribe, comment on it. Again, if you have any questions or anything like that, or comments or anything like that, comment on the video, or even here, like I said, put in an issue on the on the GitHub stream here. I'm using the wiki on the GitHub stream here as kind of network documentation here. But anyways, thanks for listening here. I'll see you all again in 2 days. Thanks. I lost OBS. There's OBS.